Hi, this is Avigal and this is the second video on Beyond Self-Judgment. I ended the previous video saying that one of the ways that we can recognize the presence of the inner judge in our day-to-day life is that it manifests through a series of familiar contraction in the system. Tensions, places where we tend to collapse or we tend to get into stress or where we close down, and they can be in many different places in the body. There are a few though that we share and they are quite familiar to pretty much everyone I have met, including myself. One is what is often felt as a rock or as a fist in the solar plexus. Another one can be a tension here in the front. As you can see, I have it used to be my fundamental place of tension here. It has to do with closing down the forehead. For other people it's very strong at the back of the neck and the reptilium, the oldest brain in the medulla. Many of us experience tension in the shoulders, and so on. Now, these tensions have been there for a long time, and usually they represent a place where we contract because we are afraid of punishment, or because we are afraid of being wrong, or because we go into a sense of unworthiness, or because we feel guilty. So these tensions, we can look at them as something bad, or we can look at them as doors into understanding how my inner judge is attacking me. How, if you want, I am judging myself, and by judging myself, I am creating this kind of tension in the physical body. So we can do also a reverse process where, as we become aware of a particular tension, for example, the tension in the solar plexus, we can ask ourselves, well, how come in this moment there is this tension? What is happening inside? Am I judging myself? No, do I feel guilty? Do I feel shame? Do I feel unworthy? So we can use self-inquiry to actually discover little by little this connection between contraction in the physical body, emotional presence of a specific emotion related to what I'm experiencing in the moment, and self-judgment. Why this happens? Why do we have an inner judge? Well, the answer is actually very simple. It's about survival. Our parents had the responsibility to provide us with some specific tools that would enable us to navigate into life with as less stress as possible. So they gave us rules, they gave us values, they gave us belief systems, they gave us ideas and concepts about reality and about who we are and what is the world. And asked us, and at times there was not really a asking, but rather an imposition or an obligation to obey, to adapt, to make all these tools our own tools so that we could survive in life. So in a way our parents did their job. And of course they could only teach us whatever they worked for them or whatever they were used to. So we received all this information, all these tools, And when we didn't adapt, when we didn't obey, when we didn't observe the way that our parents wanted for us to follow, most of the time we've been punished. Sometimes physically, sometimes psychologically, sometimes emotionally. So we learned that the best way to survive is to say yes to these rules and to make them as functional as possible. This is a process of repression. This is a process of control that happened mostly, I would say, in the first 3 years of life, and got refined, more refined, and more refined, and more refined until it completely settled, which is around age 7. At age 7 happens what in psychology is called the Great Betrayal. And the Great Betrayal is a moment where every child basically is in front of an impossible choice. If I want to survive, I have to give up myself, my freedom, my uniqueness, my aliveness, my intelligence, and obey the rules. And in exchange, I will be taken care of, protected, and guided. Or, if I refuse, I will be isolated and rejected. And of course, this is a false choice, because no child really has the possibility to make a choice based on freedom and on the capacity to survive without parents. So survival is at the very basic base of our inner structure of control. And of course it works. If you are listening to, or if you are looking at this video, this means that you have survived and that you are living your life more or less happily, more or less responding to your true nature, your spontaneity, your freedom. But you are here and you are alive. So this program worked and is working. So I don't have any judgment or evaluation about this program. I only say it is a program. So it is about a specific capacity in life, which is survival. But as you probably know, or at least you start questioning, life is not only about survival. Life is much more than just surviving. So as long as I am unconscious, I'm unaware of how this mechanism controls my day-to-day life, making my life fundamentally repetitive and disconnected from what is my true potential and my true identity, I'm stuck somewhere. I'm stuck into what we call the status quo. Pretty much a flatland where everything keeps repeating with slight variations. The energetic powerhouse of the inner judge is a biological mechanism which is called fight or flight, which means that as animals we have a biological mechanism which has to do with protecting our life in case of danger. And the way this protection comes up is through an automatic response which can go in 2 or 3 ways: fight, flight, or freeze. This is how we usually deal with our inner judge. The inner judge is felt often inside as a support, but also as an attack, as something that wants me to be in a particular way, which is defined by my past. And the way we respond to it is through what we call reactivity. Reactivity means acting over and over again old ways of dealing, coping with particular situation. So some of us, the tendency is to fight. For others, the main tendency is to run away. Other people get completely frozen. But we all have all these mechanisms within us. And even though we have a specific one which we use more than others, we have also often we use also the others. One of the main points of going beyond self-judgment is to understand how I operate mechanically, how I find myself in a state of reactivity without even noticing that I get there. Or even when I notice that I am there, how it is a habit, a compulsive habit. So I keep fighting if I'm a fighter, freezing if I go into shock, or flight if I tend to run away and be dominated by fear rather than anger. So this is going to be one of the fundamental steps to really understand how do I react, and do I have any possibility to be free of this reactivity? And of course, yes, we do have the possibility. But the first step is to understand how do I react. So one of the things that you can do in the next few days, if you want to, is to really start inquiring. How do I react in situations of stress? How do I repeat certain patterns of action and emotionality? And how do I reproduce certain kind of functioning when I am in a situation where there is stress? What are the physical symptoms? What are the emotional? What is the emotional atmosphere? What are the thoughts that run in my head? And does it work or not? So I really invite you to do some inquiry about reactivity. Keep it open. Look from different perspectives. Don't try to find a final answer, because there are many things that you can discover. So don't get content with just the first answer that you get. Keep inquiring. And I will see you in the next video.